Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Today I'm sharing the cards I made using Love From Lizi's October 2022 card kit. The theme is Autumn Friends. As I'm recording this voiceover, the kit and most of the add-ons are still available, and I do have links provided in the description box below. This kit is full of beautiful autumn colors, although the designs aren't really fall related. I think they work for cards year round. Let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I selected some pattern paper with gold foil houses all over the background, and I'll be layering it on some orange rust colored cardstock. And this is cardstock from my stash. The card kit does include several sheets of cardstock, but I always bring in additional cardstock since I love adding layers to my cards. I'm also adding a strip of the light orange gingham pattern paper. And I'll use some Love From Lizi peel-offs to put along the edge of that gingham paper. This is the rose gold color in the pinstripe style, and I'm using the narrowest width. The rose gold peel-offs match beautifully with the pattern paper in this kit. So I'll just flip over my card to trim off the extra. With all of the houses on the pattern paper, I thought this would be a perfect congratulations for someone buying a new house. The kit includes lots of sentiment cut-aparts and also some images. I selected congratulations, cut a fishtail on the right side. Before adhering it down, I will be using one of the ephemera pieces. Many of the ephemera pieces are printed on acetate, so it can get a little tricky on how to adhere those without the adhesive showing through. I used a few small glue dots and attached them toward the lower portion of the stems. Then I adhered the ephemera piece. Next I attached the sentiment, and with the sentiment I'm covering up those small glue dots, so you're not going to be able to see any of the adhesive. And since the acetate does have some weight to it, it really doesn't pull away even though I didn't put any adhesive on the upper portion. The kit also includes 3 metal keys, so I thought that would be perfect to add to the card. I'll adhere it down using some more glue dots. And I wanted to add a twine bow. I first wrapped it through the opening on the key, but I didn't like how that looked. So I removed that, attached the key. Still want to add that bow, so this time I tied it separately. The twine is light tan and white, and this is twine that I have in my stash. It's not included in the card kit, although sometimes Lizi does include twine. Once I have my bow all tied, I'll put a small glue dot on the back and adhere it to the front of the key. Then to finish off the card, I'm using some of the sequins that are included in the kit. This is the brown color. There are 2 different sizes. I was trying to decide if I wanted to use both sizes, but ended up only using the smallest size. I'll put 2 in the upper right-hand corner and 1 next to the key on the left side. I'm using an embellishment wand to pick those up, adding just a small drop of liquid adhesive and pressing those in place. And there is my finished card. I love how this one turned out. The floral ephemera and the key really add a lot to the card. And the kit does include 3 keys. When my daughter saw it, she told me I was only allowed to use 1 for my cards, since she's going to steal the other 2. Now moving on to card design number 2. I'll be using the stencil that was in the September Super Kit, but it is available for individual purchase. This is the full bloom stencil. I have some craft cardstock, and this is part of one of the cardstock bundles that's available as an add-on. I'm using the Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide ink, adding a light coating of ink to the background, having it a little bit darker in the lower left-hand corner. Next, I'll add a strip of the sequin ribbons that are included in the kit. I'm using the gold color. I wasn't really sure how to use these. I think it's a meter strip that's included of each color. So once I cut this piece off, some of the sequins do come off the end. So I did tie a small knot so they wouldn't continue to come off. For this card, I made sure to leave some of the thread available so I could wrap it around the back. And I'm also adding a small drop of liquid adhesive at the very end of the thread on the front of the card. Put some ATG tape just to make sure it'll all stay in place. And to adhere the sequin ribbon, I put some 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape on the back side. When I placed it on my card, it didn't end up perfectly straight across. It has a little bit of a wavy design, but I think that adds a fun look to the card. I'll layer this panel on some dark green cardstock, then add my card front onto a card base. Next, I'll add one of the ephemera pieces, this beautiful floral design. I will put some foam dimension on the back side, just leaving off that foam dimension on the area where the ephemera sits on top of the sequin ribbon. In that area, I'll add some double-sided adhesive tape, and this is from Love From Lizi. She included it in a former kit, and it's a nice size roll, so I still have plenty of it left over. For the sentiment, I'll stamp it directly onto the card, so I am using my Mini Misty. This is Fall is in the Air. And I will ink it up a few times to get a nice solid impression. In the upper right hand corner, I'll add a small banner, and I'll just cut this out myself using some of the dark green cardstock. I'll adhere that in place using some liquid adhesive. For embellishments on my card, I'll use some of the wooden bling pieces that are included in the kit. There are, I think, 3 different sizes, and they do have some foam dimension on the bottom. I'll add 2 in the upper right hand corner and 1 to the left of the floral ephemera piece. The white foam dimension on the bottom of the wood pieces seems to be a little bit wider than the wood piece, so it does show through slightly. I'm using my tweezers to try to tuck some of that underneath so it isn't visible. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a clear glitter brush and adding it to all of the flowers. So there is my finished card, and this is card design number 2. And I know it's very odd, but I didn't use any pattern paper on this card. For card design number 3, I'm using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from MFT, it's number 494. And if you are interested in any of the card sketches I use in this video, I do share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. That link is provided in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. The only pattern paper I'll be using on this card is the pink oval, and it has lots of gold foil suns all over it. I have a very light pale pink cardstock for the background, layering it on a darker pink cardstock. For the strip that goes behind the oval, I used some green cardstock, and I lined that with some of the brand new peel-offs that are included in the kit. It's the olive green mirror color in the pinstripe style. Before attaching the oval, I will put some scrap cardstock pieces on the very top and bottom where it goes over that green cardstock strip, and that'll help it stay at the same level. Then I'll adhere it in place using some liquid adhesive. And this cardstock color doesn't exactly match the pink oval, but it doesn't matter since it won't be visible. On this card, I'll be using an ephemera piece and also one of the sentiment cut-aparts. The sentiment had a banner on the right side, but I decided to cut it down a little bit more and also add a banner on the left side. Then I'll adhere it to the lower portion of the oval using some liquid adhesive. The kit includes lots of sentiment cut-aparts and a really good variety as well. It's perfect for some quick cards that don't require any stamping, although the kit also includes a lovely stamp set with lots of sentiments and some beautiful images. For the ephemera piece, I did put some foam dimension on the back side. I'll remove the release paper and adhere it above the sentiment. Then I'll add a small banner in the upper left-hand corner. I love this style of banner, and I've been using it quite a bit lately. I'll adhere that in place using some liquid adhesive. Then for a final finishing touch, I'm using some more Love From Lizi peel-offs. This is the mini circle style in the gold glitter color. I'll put 2 in the upper left-hand corner and 3 in the lower right-hand corner around the sentiment. I tend to be a little indecisive about where to place bling on my cards. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 3. All of that pink on a card just makes me happy. Now moving on to card design number 4. I selected a mustard yellow tone-on-tone pattern paper for the background. Has lots of little flowers on it. I also have a strip of black and white striped paper, and this is the back side of one of the 12 by 12 cut apart sheets. I'll layer that piece on some gold specialty cardstock that has an embossed linen texture look to it. And I'll layer the background pattern paper on some of the gold satin mirror cardstock, which is also part of one of the add-on bundles that's available. I did cut a scallop circle out of the center, so I'll save that for another card. But I don't want to leave that big dent from the cutout, so using some scrap cardstock, I cut out another scallop circle die cut and used it to fill in that gap. Then I'll layer that piece on a black scallop rectangle die cut. For this card, I'll be using another acetate ephemera piece, and I'll be stamping the sentiment right inside this fun wreath. So I'll lay that ephemera piece on my card so I can get the placement of the sentiment, remove that acetate piece, then stamp my sentiment directly onto the card. And I do ink it up a few times to get a nice solid impression. I'm also using a new to me tool. This is a stamping pressure tool, and it really does make a difference when you're using your Mini Misti. I'll put some ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, and you'll see just a peek of that white card base showing along that scallop edge. To adhere my acetate wreath, I'm using some small glue dots, and I'm trying to place them where the lines in that floral design are a little bit thicker. That way you won't see those glue dots through the front of the card. Next, I'll be adding a couple of the skeleton leaves that are included in the kit. Beautiful gold color. I'll put 2 of them on the left side of the wreath, and I'm adhering those in place using some glue dots. And if you touch the area on the outside of the leaves where those glue dots are, you will be able to feel the stickiness. So I'll be covering that up with a twine bow. The leaves are so pretty. They're very delicate, so do be careful. I did accidentally rip one of mine, but I was still able to use it on a card. For my twine bow, I'm using some black and white twine, and I have 2 pieces, so when I tie it together, I have a nice double bow. Just trim the tails, and I'll adhere it in place using a glue dot. For this set of cards, I use quite a few glue dots. I have the micro size, so it's teeny tiny, and then also a mini size. And since I'm having so much fun with the little banners, I'll cut another one, this time from some black cardstock. I'll adhere that in the upper right-hand corner. Then for a final finishing touch, I'll use some more of the mini circle peel-offs in the gold glitter color. I'll add 2 of them in the upper right-hand corner and decided that was enough. So there is my finished card, and I did make a second similar card. For the other card, I used the pumpkin wreath stamp that's included in the kit, stamped that on the pattern paper, added the sentiment, and I even used a Copic marker for a little bit of color on the pumpkin and the leaves. The Hello Autumn sentiment is my favorite on the whole set. Now moving on to card design number 5. The card sketch is from OWH. This is number 256. And I'm really using this sketch more for inspiration. You'll see I'm not following the design very closely at all. One of the cut apart sheets has lots of different borders. One of them has these adorable little snails. So I cut that piece down, layered it on some of the gold satin mirror cardstock. For the background of the card, I'm using the back side of one of the 12 by 12 papers that has this grid design, layering it on some white cardstock and then again on some green cardstock. Put my card front onto a card base. Then I'll be using one of the tags that's included in the kit, and these are nice and sturdy. I'm always a fan of using general sentiments for my card, so I had to go with hello. If you love the tags, you can also purchase them as an add-on. And Lizi also has an add-on to go along with the kit if you want to stretch your supplies even more. It includes the same pattern paper, ephemera, and then also some different items. But it really complements the card kit. And I will have a link for the entire October release in the description box below. I'll attach the tag down first using liquid adhesive. Then I'll adhere that snail border at the very bottom of the card, overlapping just the bottom of the tag. I tied a bow using some of the light tan and white twine, and I'll adhere that to the very top of the tag using a small glue dot. For embellishments, I'm adding a few of the mini circle peel-offs in the gold color, using the smallest size and adding 3 of them in the lower left-hand corner. And for a final finishing touch, I'll use the clear glitter brush, add it to the flowers and also the shells of all of the snails. Now moving on to card design number 6. The design of this card is very similar to the previous card. I'm using the light orange gingham paper for the background, adding a strip of green tone-on-tone leafy flower paper at the bottom of the card. I'll be using some Love From Lizi peel-offs along the edge of that green paper. This is the clear gold mirror peel-off color in the pinstripe style. I'll layer the background on some rust-colored cardstock, add my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5.5 inches. Next, I'll add this beautiful green frame with some lovely flowers in the center, and this is one of the ephemera pieces. I will pop it up using some foam dimension. Then I'll add one of the sentiment cut-aparts underneath it. On the very right side, the sentiment did have that fishtail, but I simply trimmed it off. I'll adhere it underneath the frame using some liquid adhesive. For embellishments, I'm using some of the sequins that are included in the kit. Decided to go with the orange color. I'll put 2 of them in the upper left-hand corner and 3 in the lower right-hand corner. The sequin mix has lots of pretty autumn colors. The orange really worked well on this card with the light peach pattern paper. I'll use my embellishment wand to pick up the sequins, add just that small drop of liquid adhesive, then use the opposite end of the embellishment wand to press them in place. Then for a final finishing touch, I'll add a little bit of sparkle to all of the flowers in the frame using a clear glitter brush. So there is my finished card, and this is card design number 6. The green and pink colors look so pretty together. Now moving on to card design number 7. The card sketch is from OWH. This is number 221. I selected 2 different pattern papers and also the Hello Sentiment cut apart. I thought they all looked beautiful together. I'm using the mustard, yellow, and floral paper for that tall, narrow strip. Then I also have some of the green tone-on-tone pattern paper, and those will go above and below the Hello Sentiment. Now I did change the measurements quite a bit. I'm not following the measurements that are on the card sketch. I wanted to be able to fit this Hello cut apart piece. I'll layer everything on some black cardstock. For the very narrow strip that's on the left side of the card, I used a gold glitter peel-off in the straight design. It's a little bit wider than the widest width on the pinstripe. And I also added one of the black pinstripe peel-offs, the narrowest width on the left side of the gold glitter piece. I think the black peel-off really adds some nice contrast next to the gold glitter peel-off. I'll put some ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base, this time leaving 1/4 of an inch of the white card base showing. In the upper left-hand corner, I'll be adding 2 more of the skeleton leaves. I'll add the glue dot down first, then press the leaf in place, and then do the same for the second leaf, overlapping them slightly. Then on top of the leaves, I'll add a black and white twine bow. Put a small glue dot on the back and adhere it in place. Then for a final finishing touch, I'll use the clear glitter brush and add it to the flowers around the sentiment. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 7. This is one of my favorite cards. I know there isn't any pink on it, but I think the colors look lovely together. Moving on to card design number 8. The card sketch is from Sketch Saturday. This is number 666. I think this is a really fun card sketch design. I'm using the beautiful floral paper for the background. I love the contrast of the black in the background with the soft peach colored flowers. I'll add a strip of the peach colored gingham paper and also one of the border cut aparts. It has this fun little squiggly design, and I thought that would work perfectly for this sketch where it has that stitch detail. I'll add some rose gold peel-offs in the pinstripe style using the narrowest width and adding them next to the peach gingham pattern paper. I'll wrap those ends around the back, put some ATG tape on the back, and layer this piece on some black cardstock. Then I'll add my card front onto a card base. Instead of adding more pattern paper, I decided to use some of the specialty cardstock. This is a beautiful sort of copper color with the linen embossed finish. I'll use my scissors to cut the arrow on the right side, then I'll adhere that in place. For the sentiment, I'm using another cut apart. This is on the 6x8 size pattern paper. It has that beautiful floral wreath and the sentiment hello in gold foil. Before adhering it in place, I will put a scrap cardstock piece at the very top just to make sure it doesn't dip down from all of those other layers. And this is a little bit larger than what's indicated on the card sketch, but I didn't want to trim it down and lose any of that beautiful design. Using some more of the black and white twine, I'll add a bow in the lower left-hand corner of the sentiment cut apart. And just to save on time, I've already tied the bow. I'll put a glue dot on the back side and adhere it in place. Then I'll also add a few peel-offs for embellishments. This is the mini circle style in the black color. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 8. I love this pretty floral pattern paper. Now moving on to card design number 9. I'll start off by stamping the sentiment on some of the grid pattern paper. This is Autumn Love, stamping it in the upper left-hand corner. I will be using a card sketch for inspiration. This is from Sugar Pea Designs. It's Sugar Sketch number 53. I'll layer the grid paper on some black cardstock. For the very background of the card, I have this beautiful pattern that's white and it has rose gold hearts. Now this is not included in the kit, it's part of one of the specialty cardstock bundles. It has a really nice thickness to it. And I know I am covering up most of that beautiful design. Probably should have cut out the center. But when I did cut down this panel, I made sure lots of those hearts would frame the card. I layered that heart paper on the same black cardstock. Put some more ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. Next, I'll add a strip of the beautiful floral pattern paper that I used on the previous card and also one of the border cut aparts. It's another squiggly design. Adhere those two pieces together. Then I'll use some Love From Lizi peel-offs to add to the very outside edge of the floral paper, on the top at least. And the other peel-off I'll put underneath the squiggly border cut apart. This is the pinstripe style peel-off in the black color, and I'm using the narrowest width. Just wrap those ends around the back. The pinstripe style peel-offs are the most popular. They're also my favorite. Coming in next, I love the mini shapes. Lizi has circles, stars, and hearts, and they're great to use for embellishments. Before adhering the floral strip to the card, I will put a scrap cardstock piece on the very right and left outside edge. Just glue that down using some liquid adhesive. I'll be adding one of the ephemera pieces, this sweet little dog sitting on a chair, and I love that the cushion behind the dog matches the floral pattern paper on the card. Sometimes the ephemera pieces have those teeny tiny little paper notches or tabs, so I am using my scissors to trim those off. Before adhering the ephemera piece down, I'll put a scrap cardstock piece just on the very top portion of the chair, and I'll also put foam dimension on the back side. I'll make sure to get good coverage so there isn't one area that sags, although the ephemera is a really nice sturdy cardstock weight. It's not flimsy at all. Remove the release paper and adhere it in the lower right-hand corner. For embellishments on the card, I'll use some more of the wooden dots that are included in the kit, And instead of going with that natural wood color, I decided to change the color by using some ink. First, I'm removing that foam dimension that's on the bottom, and that comes off very easily. Then I'll take those wooden dots and dip them directly into my ink pad, and this is a metallic rose gold ink color. Now this is a pigment ink pad, so the ink doesn't dry really fast. Off screen, I did use my heat gun to try to dry that ink just a little bit faster. Then to adhere those wooden bling pieces, I'm using some more glue dots. And the ink wasn't completely dry at this point, so I was really struggling to get the glue dot to stick to the wooden piece. And I'm trying to figure out where I want to place them. So I'm being very careful not to push them down until I've decided on the placement. So there is my finished card, and this is card design number 9. The wooden dots are a nice alternative to bling. I love the natural wood color, but they're also really easy to change the color using different mediums. Now moving on to my final card design, this is number 10. I have some black cardstock for the background, and I've already added a metallic paint splatter to the background. The sentiment is one of the cut aparts from the 12 by 12 sheet, and I used a stitch circle die to cut that out. I cut out a second piece from some black cardstock and glued the two pieces together for some extra stability. I'll put some foam dimension on the back side, but I'll set that aside for now. Using the 2 leaf dies that are included in the kit, I cut out a ton of leaves from some of the rose gold specialty cardstock. There's rose gold mirror, rose gold glitter, and also rose gold satin with that linen embossed texture. I'll adhere all of those leaves over the background, and many of them will go off the edge for a very random look. I'm using Barely Art liquid adhesive, and it does adhere really nicely, but sometimes it takes just a little bit longer to adhere some of those specialty finishes. So I am placing acrylic blocks on top just for that added weight while the glue adheres. I'll be placing the sentiment in the very center of the card, so I don't need to add leaves all the way in the center since it'll be covered up anyway. Some of the leaves I'll cut in half and add just to the very outside edge. Once I have most of that background covered, I'll flip over my panel and use my scissors to cut off the extra. And you can see I do have some paint splatter on the back side. I used the same sort of a silvery color and also a pink, but it was really bright pink once it dried, so I decided that didn't work well with the rose gold. So instead of cutting out another piece of black cardstock, I just simply flipped it over. So now using some of those leaf pieces that I just cut off, I'll add them to the very edge of the card. Then I'll put some ATG tape and also some liquid adhesive on the back of this piece and add my card front onto a card base. I noticed one leaf at the bottom of the card was lifting up slightly, so I put a little bit of liquid adhesive underneath and laid my acrylic block on top. Remove the release paper on the foam dimension and add my sentiment to the center of the card. Then for a final finishing touch, I'll add a couple of peel-offs. This is the mini heart style in the white color. I would add some rose gold, but currently Lizzie doesn't have any mini shape in the rose gold color. So there is my finished card. I love how this one turned out, and it is super shiny and sparkly. Now here's another look at the 11 cards I made using Love From Lizi's October 2022 card kit. The theme is Autumn Friends. As I'm recording this voiceover, the kit and most of the add-ons are still available, and I do have links provided in the description box below. This is a monthly kit, so quantities are always limited. The only way to guarantee receiving a kit is to sign up and subscribe. But Lizzie also has the option of purchasing the kit without a subscription. And she really does pack her kits with lots of great crafty goodies. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.